Hi there, I'm just thinking about free will again. I should probably say before I start that it probably looks to you like I'm on the Salt Line in Cheshire, this disused railway line where I make a bunch of videos. It probably looks like that, but I'm not. I'm actually walking along Johnson Street, which is a street in a small town in Texas. Can't remember the name of the town I'm in, unfortunately. But this is Johnson Street here, and I've just walked up this bit of Johnson Street, and I've just come out of that opening there. Back there, you can probably see it where the cars are going past. Let me just check to make sure that's in frame. Yeah, I've just come out of that opening where the cars go past occasionally, and that's North Line Street. I've just walked north up North Line Street and turned left here into Johnson Street, because just down there, just down on North Line Street, over there somewhere behind these trees, you can't see it properly, it's over behind these trees, is the first Free Will Baptist Church, which is just down there where I started making these videos. So I started off over there making videos about compatibilism and free will, determinism, that kind of thing, and I've been walking, as I say, up North Line Street talking about free will and determinism, and then I turned here onto Johnson Street. I could have turned right and gone that way, but I decided to turn left and head towards the Enterprise Rent-A-Car, which is down here somewhere. I may turn off down that path there. You can probably see it, this path here comes off. I might go off down there because there's a theatre down there I'm not going to look at, theatre on the square, so I might do that, I don't know yet. But either way, here I am to bring up to the present, bring up to the here and now. I'm on Johnson Street in this small town in Texas, and I'm thinking about free will. And particularly I'm thinking about free will, appropriately enough, in the context of Mark Johnson. This is Johnson Street. It's probably prompted me to think of Mark Johnson, actually. Mark Johnson is a philosopher, writer, collaborates a lot with George Lakoff, another probably slightly better known philosopher, writer. He's great, actually, Mark Johnson. He's got some great books. Meaning of the Body is really good. But his shtick really is embodied cognition and embodied philosophy. That's what he writes about. And it's a bit noisy now. I think they're doing some building work over there. Anyway, yeah, we're good anyway. His shtick is embodied philosophy and how it relates to language. You know, how the inner workings of our mind is revealed in language and that kind of stuff. But the reason why I'm thinking about that, particularly in relation to determinism, is because there's a close link, I think, in our minds about how we view what determinism is and how we think about what time is. I suppose I was thinking about this yesterday when I was a bit further back along Johnson Street, just turning the corner there, when I was talking about predictability, you know, because when we think the future is determined, when we think the future is already written, I think part of our minds is also thinking it must be predictable, and we can perhaps somehow visit it in some way, you know, find out what the future holds, come back to the present, and of course potentially change it. And if you did that, it throws up a paradox, and determinism is revealed to be stupid. But it's only stupid if you conceptualize determinism as being related to predictability, and in turn predictability being related to this idea that time, the future, is a place you can visit and find out about. And that, I think, rests really on some, or is best understood for me at least right now, in terms of embodied cognition. Because when we think about time, you know, and determinism is all about being determined in time. We fully accept that things are determined in space. You know, let me just take you to this tree growing in this person's garden here. I mean, this bush here, for example, you know, when I look at it across here, I have no problem when looking at that part accepting that that part is determined. You know what I mean? I have no problem with seeing the connection in space between these two parts and accepting that they're coterminous with one another, that these things are equally determined, that, you know, just because my finger is moving this way along that branch and it's got to this bit, I don't suddenly imagine that this bit could change at any moment, or I could somehow jump to this bit and my jumping to this bit will affect the status of this. That just doesn't happen in spatial terms, but that is what we think of when we talk about time. You know, we imagine ourselves jumping to the future, changing it, finding out something there that will allow us to change the past, and, as I say, throw up that paradox. But that intuition, which I think fuels at least some of our resistance to determinism, is a result of that incorrect, or at least fairly arbitrary understanding of what time is. You know, because we do treat time as if it was space, I'm walking along this path here, this little footpath beside the road, and you know, and I know that in order to get to that bit at the corner there, I need to pass this bit and walk past this dog, and so on. You know, that's how space works. And I think of time in the same way. In order to get to next Tuesday, I have to go past next Monday. Past, you know, like it's a place. I can't get to next Tuesday without going past, and so on. You know what I mean? With the logic of time is exactly the same as the logic of space in our minds. It isn't really. This is how we conceptualize it. And similarly, our imagination of the future and our imagination of the past take their logic from travelling through space. So my imagination of the past, you know, it's real, but it's how it exists in the imagination, is as this path, you know, this pavement here that I've walked past the house there with the tree growing in the garden, back there along Johnson Street where that turn-off was, down to North Line Street. I mean, all this imagination of the past is singular. You know, I know I didn't go straight on it. I know I didn't go right and turn down Johnson Street that way. I turned left and came down Johnson Street this way. So the past is completely singular. It's the path that I have walked. The past is. But the future, in my imagination, isn't like that. You know, here I am, and I could, in theory, well, as I intend to, I could take that road off down there and go to the theatre in the square that way. But as I say, I'm imagining that I could walk straight on and head towards Enterprise Rent-A-Car. You know, or I could backtrack, go down North Line Street and go to the dentist, to the bottom of that road over there. You know, I'm imagining I could do all these things. But I'm only able to imagine I can do these things because I'm imagining time as a kind of space. That's the thing. Go on, Peeps. You know, I'm imagining time as a kind of space when I truly can backtrack, when I truly can turn around, jump over things, move through things in that way. And it's a space which takes its logic from the human body, a human body that looks into the front, that looks in front of itself whilst it's walking, that sees the places it's about to go, that leaves the past behind as a single trail. You know, those kind of logics that walking through space brings, really. And that informs our intuition, I think, of what time is, and consequently informs our intuitions about what determinism means. I mean, it'd be interesting to know, because I know there are one or two peoples in the world, language users in the world, which have slightly different understandings of time. I think pretty much all the ones that have been studied certainly do use space. Go on, please, this way. Do use space, but some of them use it slightly differently. There's a group of people called the Aymara, or the Aymara, in I think it's Bolivia or Colombia, one of the South American countries anyway, that have a slightly different metaphor of time. It's still space, but for them the past is in front of them and the future is behind them. You know, so whereas we, for example, when we're talking about the future, we might make this gesture, oh, I don't know when that's happening. And when we're talking about the past, we'll say, oh, I don't know, it's all behind me now in the past. Oh, God, panting. The Aymara do the opposite, you know. They talk about the past being over there and the future being over there. It's completely embodied, but it takes its embodiment from a slightly different logic. And that being that that we know what the past is, so they're doing a kind of knowing is seeing thing. Because we know what the past is, they're imagining the past as in front of their eyes, where it can be seen, where it can be known. Whereas we don't know what the future holds, so it's kind of in the dark space behind us. So the Aymara kind of have us walking backwards into the future like this. We're seeing the past behind us. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know what their take on free will is. You know, what their take on determinism is. Because if you're walking blindfold into the future, or you're walking blind, or just walking backwards into the future, and able to see the singular past, then you're going to make different assumptions about what's possible. If I can't see that there are multiple roads ahead, I'm not making kind of choices between possible subjunctive futures that I can visualise, imaginatively, metaphorically visualise. If I'm not doing that, then I don't have the illusion of free will that would guide me to one of those paths, would I? So, you know, conceptualizing myself walking backwards into the future, I just stumble where I go, you know. I can be guided by the things I've left behind me. Let me just do that for a bit. Phoebe, come on! I'm just walking backwards now. So I'm kind of guided by the things that's I'm leaving behind. You know, I can see the path. Johnson Street, there it is, look, there's Johnson Street. I can see Johnson Street being left behind me. And I'm assuming it's straight. But hey, I might be wrong and I might bump into a pedestrian. Yeah, but better do turn around, otherwise I might hurt myself. So yeah, so that's that really. I'm going to continue on down this path anyway. I'm going to cross over this road ahead. See what's going on. Anyway, yeah, free will.